Well, hello again. My name is Frank Ferrante, and I'm here today at the Hudson Canal in New Smyrna Beach of Florida. And you remember last time I did this virtual artist series. I worked on a painting that was started, and I was kind of tweaking it a little bit. Today I'm going to do a demo, and the name of the demo, of course, is Painting on a Beach, which is one of my favorite places to paint. So I thought we would do a virtual painting on a beach, if you will. We're doing a lot of virtual things today. And so I'm all set to get started here. So if you notice in most of my paintings are very, very sky influenced. And because they're sky influenced, all of my, the paint that I use off of my palette, and this is called the prismatic palette. You could Google prismatic palette, get the whole history of the palette. But because I paint with sky influence so much, I always incorporate some blue-gray into my work. So let me just, before I start, let me just show you how I mix my blue-gray, which is a very, very, very simple process. So come on down and I'll show you how I do this. So what I have here are just a little squeeze of white, and to one I'll add a little black. You don't need a lot because I'm looking for a middle value, gray. So now I have a middle value gray very, very quickly, okay? And to the other, I'm going to mix a little cobalt blue. Maybe a little more. And then you take the two and you mix them together, and that gives you a really, really nice blue-gray. And here I have it already mixed up. So this is my middle value. You know, all of the, everything that we paint, regardless of what it is always painted with a triad. So here are my triads. They're already set up. The middle value blue-gray, and then a darker blue-gray. I just add more black or more cobalt, and then a lighter blue-gray, less black and less cobalt. And you can see how that's accomplished. And by the way, here are my other triads. Here's my blue triad. I have a green triad and my blue-gray triad. So this is how I'm going to start my painting. I'm going to grab some of my blue-gray, and I'm going to come right up here and put in some composition. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to get a starting point, and of course, the starting point is always a nice horizon line. And of course, when we're on the beach, the horizon line is more evident and more right in your face. Well, one of the things I wanted to mention to you is that this is a 14 by 18 canvas, but like say for instance you were going away and you were going to paint for a while and do a couple of paintings. What I do is I take many layers of canvas and I just staple them onto this. This all can come apart, then put it together at your location. And then I can staple at least 8 or so. It gets pretty thick, and then the staples don't reach, but a good 8. And then what happens is you go out and do your painting, rip this off, lay it in the sun for a couple hours, and it's totally dry. I mean, you actually, basically, what you can do is you can lay these in on the bottom of your suitcase if you're going away. But this is kind of a neat thing to do, and it takes, you know, it doesn't take up any room. So now what we want to do very, very quickly is we just want to establish some kind of a composition. And of course, we have two disadvantaged things. First of all, we have the sun, which is constantly moving. We're outside. And then, of course, we have our subject matter, which are the waves which are constantly moving. So what I like to do is I like to quickly establish composition, and then once the sun moves or the wave changes, I'm all set. So let's just very roughly put in a wave. And I usually do that very, very quickly by just putting in the shadow of a wave. And let's see. And then, of course, we want to have some runoff here. And I like cloudy days. I don't like cloudless skies. So when I put in I'll very quickly put in some clouds. And I'm doing this all with blue-gray. And you see, there's very, very, very little paint. All I want to do is establish composition. Now, some people that I know and some of my students will use charcoal, use a pencil. Me, I just like to just quickly, I mean, I'm outside. I had the sun moving. I had the waves moving. But just very, very quickly, just get some composition established. Maybe some beach. And again, very, very, very little paint. All blue-gray. So this method of painting that I do is a process of drawing light out of the shadow. So I'm constantly putting shadow in, and then I put my lights on top of the shadow. So there's a very overcast sky, and our horizon will be pretty dark. So just again, so very, very, very quickly, you can see how I established composition. So now what I'll do is go in and I'll just start to introduce some color. But here I am with my composition all set, and I'll establish some kind of a light source very, very quickly. Now the sun can move, the waves can move, and I'm all set to continue my painting. So let me get some sky in. And now what I'm using is just a little blue-gray, a little cobalt and white, and just a dab of manganese. I'll come in here and maybe some of that. Okay. Cobalt, white, and just a little bit of manganese. So what I want to do is I want to establish, and you'll note that you want to establish a light source. So, and what I always tell my students, and especially the kids, is you want to establish kind of a flashlight. You want to know where the light is coming from in your painting, and then you paint according to the light. So, for instance, let me get into I'm going to grab a little white, a little orange, and maybe just a hint of yellow light. And I'm going to come in here. And I'd say that my light source is going to be here somewhere. I mean, I don't really know, but I'm going to establish this area. And that's where there's some sun coming through. Now this will influence all of my painting. In other words, whatever is directly hitting this light source will be lighter than the shadow side. Maybe up in here some, I might grab some. Just say there's this cloud, there's light coming up this way. And maybe here it's hitting a little bit. Up here. And maybe even here a little bit. So that sun is just going this way. Okay, so every single thing that we paint is made up of a triad. You have your sunny side, you have your shadow side, and then you have your middle value. And the middle value is made up of a little bit of light, a little bit of shadow. It gives you that middle value, and without that middle value, you can't establish two dimension. All you have is a light side, a dark side, and there's nothing in between. So what I want to establish a little bit is a little in between, a little middle value. So this is dark. So I have a little blue-gray. What I added was a little darker cobalt. And I added just a wee bit of alizarin, very, very, very small amount. And that alizarin gives you that violet, shadow violet. A little blue-gray, a little cobalt, a little alizarin, and you have this really nice violet. these are the skies that I really enjoyed painting. Okay, so what we have now is we have, in our cloud, we have a light side, we have a shadow side, but we're missing a middle value. So what I might suggest doing is taking a little bit of both, the light and the dark. So I'm going to grab some light, I'm going to grab some dark. Might add just a little bit of cobalt into that. And I want to establish a little bit of middle value. See the middle value? It has a little bit of my sunlight, a little bit of my shadow right in here. But watch, tell my students that this is all whisper. Well, I'm hardly touching the canvas. Hardly touching the canvas. Hardly touching the canvas. Here too. Here too. And now I'm going to go with my light part, and again, just hardly touching the canvas. But you see what I'm trying to establish? I'm trying to establish this 2-dimension. Okay, we can come in here and we could hardly touch this. Whisper strokes. Whisper. And then just come down with your horizon. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm loading up my brush and I'm just taking paint off of both sides. Now we'll come back to this just to get this started. Okay. And I can work on my light source again. So again, this is my light source. This is where the base, predominant light on my subject matter is going to be coming from. Might just come up here and okay. Whisper, whisper. Okay, good. Now, let's establish some waves. So this is all shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come in and hit the top of my wave. And here too. All I want to do is establish the wave, my light and my dark, just establish, then I'll go back and tweak it. Here. And you'll note that with all water, there's a lot of the stroke with the brush, is a lot of elliptic strokes with the brush. And so I have this wave. I might just come right with a nice elliptic stroke. again, any water that's stagnant, that's not moving, any rainy scene that you want to paint, it's all vertical strokes. All vertical strokes. And then you can distort it, vertical strokes. Okay. So let me just establish a little dark. Dark shadow in here. And in here. Okay. Here. And maybe so what you have, of course, is you have these waves, one behind the other, pushing, one body of water pushing and pushing and pushing. And then that first wave all of a sudden hits the sand and it cascades over, and all the waves behind her are still pushing. So what you have is you have a wave that is cascading, and then this is catching up to it. So there's more pressure behind this part of the wave than there is behind this part of the wave. So let me make this a little darker here. And I'm going to take just a little darker blue-gray, but I'm going to throw some orange into it. A little darker blue-gray with a little orange and a little cobalt. That's going to give me some nice darker sand. And maybe even just a little alizarin to give it a little violet look. And I just, again, I pull all my lights out of my shadow. So this is all shadow. Might just lighten it up just a little bit, a little more orange. All right, so so now, like I said before, the sun can go and do its thing, and the waves can keep splashing on the beach. But my composition is fairly established, and from this point on, I could just concentrate on the painting without worrying about the sun or the waves. I mean, I'm pretty much there. I just have to keep painting. Okay, so now let me go over all of our values. We have all these different values of color, and let me just enhance that. And I can actually really start doing my painting. So again, a little white and cobalt, and just a little bit of manganese. So I'm going to come in, maybe just a little lighter. See, I have a nice shape here. There's a nice shape here. Well, a painting is basically the arrangement of light and dark shapes. I don't care what you're painting. inside, outside. It's all a process of putting really nice light and dark shapes next to each other. So I'm going to go back and then I'm just going to go over my shapes. So basically what this is the layering process whereby you have the background. So this is blue sky, which is very far, could be very far away. And then all of a sudden you have this cloud that comes in front of it. There could be another cloud. So you have this layering taking place. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm starting to put that blue sky behind. Now watch, I can take some of that blue sky and just bring it into my maybe here too a little bit. Okay. And again, a little blue-gray, middle value blue-gray, and a little just a little alizarin, just to give it a little violet look. And I might just a bit of the sun, just a little bit of cadmium orange. Let's get a little of the sun involved. Maybe just a little bit more. Here. So when I get to another value, I just let up on the pressure of the brush. I'll show you. Come in here. I had this blue, and I'm just letting up on the pressure of the brush. Okay, now let me get in and go over my cloud. So I'm going to grab some white, just a little orange. I'm just going to hit a little yellow light. So we have our influence of our sun here someplace, and it's peeking through. And it's shining up this way. Here. So let's just really, this is our our sun. So this might influence down here a little bit. And then we'll go and try to get a half tone. So this is my dark, this is my light. So what I need is I need a half tone. I need a little bit of light, a little bit of shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shadow brush and I'm hardly touching this. Look at. Here too. Try to get this dimension, this 2-dimension happening. And then go back with my light brush and do the same thing. I call this whisper strokes. So look, I'm just a whisper, hardly touching this. Okay. All right. Now let's work our way down a little bit. I always start with the sky because the sky influences everything that's happening on the ground. So I wanted to always go to the sky first. So that's pretty overcast sky, which means that it's going to probably give you a very, a pretty shadowy ocean. And what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a little darker blue-gray and I'm folding a little darker, dark green into it. So come here. Might be just a wee bit darker. And this is our shadowy areas. Looks like the center is more, has a lot more light happening with it. So the left and right will be, the ocean will be a little darker. Okay. And what I might want to do is take some of that sky here and then bring it right into my ocean. In order to do that, maybe I have to just darken this up just a little bit. You want something light, you put a dark next to it. You want something dark, you put a light next to it. So I just wanted to darken that a little bit so that I could get that reflection into the ocean. Okay, come back here. And see this very hard edge. I want to get rid of that hard edge. In fact, what I could do is come in with my blue. Come in with my blue and then just Just trying to get rid of that really hard edge. No hard edges. Okay. And maybe there's a little blue sky happening here. We'll come back to that. Okay. So now let's see. Now let's work our way forward. And so basically, what I want to do is I probably want to keep my my light source here, so this left and right might be a little more in shadow. So I found that, I'll get a little smaller brush. I found that the base of my wave, which is the thickest part of the wave, and of course as it starts to cascade, the wave becomes thinner and thinner and thinner, and then it just cascades over. And as it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, this light right here is able to penetrate the water, so it illuminates it. So what I might want to do then is just to give I'm grabbing a little white. So since coming down to Florida and painting more and more seascapes, I've introduced the phthalos, the phthalo green, phthalo blue, into my palette. And as I mentioned to you, that this is called a prismatic palette. You just Google prismatic palette. It gives you the whole rundown. It's really basically a plein air palette. But it doesn't have the phthalos in it. So what I did is I introduced a little phthalo green and a little phthalo blue, because I like putting that into my ocean. Just so this is thin, and on the base is very, very thick. And what I found, and I just kind of found this like a couple of years ago, I'll take a sap green and a phthalo blue, and I'll mix that together. But you got to be careful with phthalo blue, phthalo green and blue, because it's very, very, very potent. So just a little bit goes a long, long ways. And I'll put that in the bottom of my wave. All the shadow part. Never black. So I have, let's see, let me put this in here. Okay. So the same thing that I did here is I whispered light into dark, dark into light. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to whisper light into dark. Look at you don't need much more than that. Okay. So now let's go up into this area. And as I mentioned to you in my last painting, and then this one is I like to use these watercolor brushes, and I'll show you how I use that. We could take a little, let's see, grab a little, maybe a little phthalo green, and maybe a little manganese blue. Phthalo green, manganese blue. Then I come right up in here. Come right up in here and adding a little more white to that. It might be just a wee bit too blue. Now you can come over here. Get the same effect. Okay, then maybe up in here. Okay, let's get this. I also mentioned to you, there's a lot of ellipse strokes with water. Just going to add a little cobalt. So this is all, so this light is coming here. It's hitting this wall of water and it's casting a shadow. So now again, light and shadow, light and shadow. Just the top. The sun is coming along. It just hits the top. Here too. Just hits. Now this might be, this wave is breaking. This is catching up. So this is more flat. So it's, you know, wide stroke and then narrow strokes. Just keep going. Okay. So now, so this light is coming, the top is light, and the bottom of the wave is more in shadow. So I'm going to get a little cobalt, a little white, and I'm just going to add just a wee bit of blue-gray. Oh, that's better. We're getting here. Just a little bit of blue-gray to give us more of a shadow. Here too. Here too. And then go back and and then back here. So this could be even a little darker. Okay, and this kind of just dissipates here. We'll come back to this. A little more shadow, I think, would be a little more blue-gray. This is pretty dark in here. And here too. And what we could do too is we can grab some of this shadow and bring it right up into our wave. And we kind of lost and then just whisper. So this just come down. You see, my wave is much too straight. So what I'll do is I'll go and find the back ocean. So here's the ocean, and I'll take that ocean and I'll create my positive negatively. I'll show you by painting the background. Then go back and fix that a little bit. Okay, and then take care of this. Let's see. Still want to get some of that foam in here. It's a little trial and error. I think the key to painting is all patience. Okay. We'll come back. So let me come further forward, and so let's see. So we decided that our left and our right is got more in shadow. So let's put a little more shadow into this area by adding, of course, cobalt. And the shadow on this side also, more cobalt. So this is all more water that's still, and as I mentioned to you, any kind of water that is still rainy day or whatever, the stroke is all vertical. And we might just do a little bit of that on this side. Okay. So what I'm going to do also is grab some light paint, a little white, a little orange, and then come in here and again it's the same principle light into dark, dark into light. But this time I'm gonna this time it's gonna be a little light here in the center. Could add just a little light. Here too. Okay. And what we could do then is we can take some of that paint, that light paint, a light value. The light value is happening here. And I'm going to I'm going to disturb the sand by just bringing in some and here too. Don't make straight lines that you would make with a ruler. Always kind of break up those lines. Come in here. I could actually pick up a little more cobalt. Pick up a little more cobalt. Yeah, I didn't like that. Okay, more orange. Gonna just bring some of that sand in here just to give. I'll just break this up a little bit more. Let's break this up a little bit more. You'll find that this water back here has a little more violet in it. This is like super saturated water. It's a little more purple. And here too. Okay, then we can go back with our white. here too. I'm going to keep the center a little lighter than the left and right. This should be lighter. And maybe this is a little more cobalt here. Let's see. It'd be nice if we can just grab some of this. I don't like, see this? I don't like that. So we'll get rid of this. See this? That's better. You have to remember that when you paint, nothing is parallel and nothing is straight. So I'm always looking for to make something more crooked. And I'm going to add more sunshine here. And what I did is I just grabbed some blue gray, and I just folded blue, gray, and orange. And that gives you just a wonderful highlight of sun. Maybe in here too. And keep the ends a little darker. A little darker blue-gray, a little darker blue-gray, and the orange again. So this is darker. All right, now let's just go back and work on my, not 100% satisfied with my waves. So again, I have a little sap green, and just a hint of phthalo blue. Sap green and a little phthalo blue. I'm just going to come in here. That's better. This wave kind of dissipates. You always need that light and dark. almost there. It's going to lighten this just a little bit more. Still want a little more of a contrast, and you'll see. So I'm going to grab white again and an orange. I think it's going to come in here. That light comes down, hits here, could even be hitting here a little bit too. Okay. Let me go back just here, here. The sun comes, just hits the top. Here too. So like a little wave here, and then just put a little shadow under it. And one other thing is, so I'm just going to go in and grab my okay, and I think this should be just a little darker. And there's not quite enough of light and dark in my sand. Just going to go back and tweak that again. See what happens, you get dark in both sides. This has a tendency to get lighter. And a little cobalt on this side.
Hello.
And then what we need to do I'm just going to go back and just hit this once more. A little orange. just to lighten this up just a little bit more. And break this up a little bit. It's too perfect. A little better. Okay, now I'm going to grab a little dark blue-gray, a little alizarin, maybe a little dark green, and maybe a little dark red. And just to put a little debris. You know what you want to do when you do your paintings, of any kind of painting, is you want to have a dark right here in the foreground, and what that does is it helps to push everything back. So I'm going to see if I can put a little dark debris here, and all dark colors, dark green, a little blue-gray. So all I'm doing is just dragging the brush along. You could go, and don't go overboard. It's so easy to go overboard. And then maybe just finishing touches here. Just a couple. I always like to put these in because it helps. I think it helps the painting. It gives the painting some movement. And all I'm doing is I'm taking my watercolor brush with a lot of paint on it and just using the corner. And it's just a little corner here. So the hardly touching this. If I push, it's going to get bigger. If I hardly touch it, it's going to be small. So if I could just hardly touch this. This guy is further, and this guy is closer. And then maybe one more. I'll put this one right here. And this guy is even closer. Further away, a little closer. This guy is very close. So I might put him like right here. So this was a great opportunity. I really thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can always contact the Hub on Canal and ask for me. And or you can email me if you like, Frank Paintings with an S, Frank Paintings @AOL.com. Thank you very much.